Now, Russia owns part of our debt. China owns part of our debt. They've got investments over here, in effect, in U.S. debt. So when you look at percent of debt to the economy, there's been a lot in the news, obviously, about the EU. This is Spain at 64%, Portugal 91%, Ireland 114%, Italy 120%, Greece at 152%, and the USA at 100%. That's where we are right now, is government as a debt, as a share of the economy. Government debt as a share of the economy in 2011. Part of the difference somebody pointed out to me recently was, yeah, but in the U.S. we can print money. Well, yeah, we can, we do. We end up inflating our way into a real disaster. I'm not China-phobic, and we're not going to sell Joint Strike Fighters to China. But just with the interest that we pay on the debt we already owe to China, they could afford to buy 3 new Joint Strike Fighters every week and put $50 million in the bank. So we already owe them. That's why this is serious stuff. Some people say, let's raise taxes to deal with it. This is a chart that shows you, according to the Congressional Budget Office, what it would take to keep pace with spending if you don't constrain spending. So this goes from 2008 to 2050 to 2081. And you can see what, that's a course of action you can take. That's where you get. I'm from the House, not the Senate. We're not allowed to filibuster. You all came here to share your concerns, comments, and views with me and ask questions, and I'd be happy to kind of stop with that and throw it open and happy to take questions. Yes, sir?
My name is Murray LaHue. I live in Phoenix, the little Phoenix, not the big. And I have a question, a little preamble. In the late 1980s, early 1990s, Congress passed a law specifying that every year there would be an automatic reduction in the amount paid to doctors with 3D Medicare patients. The number was a small percentage, but it keeps growing.
Yes, sir.
I think it was a 10-year law. I don't recall exactly.
It was the Budget Act of 96.
90s, okay. Medicare reimbursement rates were fairly meager at that time. Ever since the law has been enacted, with the exception of 1 or 2 years, that has been delayed.
Correct.
It has been delayed. So we're not doing it, we're delaying it. The delay will not abolish the percentage for each year. It just adds it on to the following year.
Correct.
If that continues the way it is, this year, unless something's done pretty rapidly, the Medicare doctors will receive 27% less than they received when this law was enacted. That's horrendous.
Actually, it's worse than that. I'll get to it.
I'm sure it is. The Congress did sign another delay in 2011. I think it expires in April.
No, expires in December.
Oh, it goes always late. Well,
we got months.
Say for under 8 months then, okay. I'm sure most people know that doctors can or do not have to participate in Medicare. They
Correct.
opt out, they opt out. I had to change my wife's doctors 3 times because their doctor said we don't want to participate. And that was not Medicare so much as it was TRICARE. I'm retired military, and those of you who are retired military know that TRICARE is tied to Medicare. So what impacts Medicare impacts TRICARE.
Yep.
27%, 27% across the board. I don't know. My question actually is, if the provisions of this law were so unimportant that they could be delayed every year with no apparent concern, why don't we just go change the basic law?
Yes.
That's my question.
And you're right. So that's called the SGR. Well, don't ask me what it stands for when you look it up, but it's the SGR. And you're absolutely right, except for the number. It was 27.4% cut at the end of this year. I was on the conference committee. First of all, the House passed a piece of legislation at the end of the year that would have extended the payroll tax cut for a year, that would have extended unemployment benefits with reform for a year, and dealt with the SGR for docs for 2 years, paid for. The Senate rejected what the House passed and came back with a 2-month alternative. That was in, I'm going to say December. We asked the Senate to appoint conferees and sit down with the House and work this out for a longer term, because we thought 2 months made no sense. 2 years would give us time on the SGR to figure out a different strategy. The Senate refused to appoint conferees, and I sat in Washington until December 23rd, and we finally said uncle, because otherwise the cuts would take place, unemployment extension would run out, payroll tax cut, you heard all that. So we, by unanimous consent, agreed to the 2-month extension. Came back, Congress started up again toward the middle to the end of January. We began meetings. I continued to be one of the 8 Republican conferees. We had, I don't know, 4 or 5 Democrat conferees in the House, and they had a contingent in the Senate. We had open conference meetings. They were televised, which seldom, if ever, has been done. We debated these issues, and the best we could work out in compromise with the President and the Senate was a 1-year extension. By then it was only 10 months because we'd done this for 2 months, which took you to March. So the extension goes for both unemployment and the payroll tax cut and the SGR to the end of this year. Senator Reid did not want to go beyond that and further refused our request that there be an update, a 1% increase in the payments to docs or medical providers. This all stems from a 1996 Budget Act, Balanced Budget Act, to try and contain the rate of growth of Medicare costs. The problem is the formula was flawed then, and the formula is flawed now. So by December of this year, that cut won't be 27.4%, it'll be 32%. And in large measure, it's sort of funny money anyway, because it's never going to be paid. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it comes from a bad formula. We've already put it off. We've already paid for it. I mean, so it becomes an accounting issue more than anything else. Underneath that, we have a task force that's been working with doctors in Congress who know this issue very well, trying to come up with a new model. And I've supported repeal of the SGR, and I'm waiting to see what they come forward with a long-term fix. It's a commitment the Speaker has made and wants to fulfill. We thought if we did a 2-year fix, you'd take the pressure off on the medical community so that they can see seniors, provide the care, not have to worry about this, and use that time period then to rewrite the law. And we're trapped in this short-term cycle right now. Yes, sir.